Hussman School of Journalism and Media at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, covering the full range of Tar Heel athletics. This is Sports Extra.
Molly, I know you're a Broncos fan, so it was a little bit of a rough week, but I want to start with something I never thought I would say. Go Pats!
Oh, Bethany, you know, while most people were enjoying the snowy Sunday, I was mourning the Broncos' loss.
That's right. I mean, lots of excitement for Tar Heel fans and Patriots fans, but there's also a lot of drama going on. So good morning and welcome to Sports Extra. I'm Bethany Pryor.
And I'm Molly Malik. Thanks for joining us.
UNC head football coach Bill Belichick isn't going in the NFL Hall of Fame, at least not yet. After he failed to reach the 80% of votes required to advance, many athletes and fans were left puzzled as to how one of the masterminds behind the New England Patriots dynasty wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer. The three-time Coach of the Year has the second most total wins of all time, including the most playoff wins and the most Super Bowl rings with 8. It's kind of hard to believe that Hall of Fame is moving on without Bill Belichick. Obviously, he had some rough going on this past fall with the UNC football team, but he has a dynasty with the Patriots.
This is true, but the dynasty is also moving on, and Drake May is the one taking it forward.
That's true, Molly. I'm really excited to see the Tar Heel succeed in the big leagues.
And with that, a former Tar Heel, Drake May, once the face of Carolina football, is now leading the Patriots to Super Bowl 60. On February 8th, Drake May will be facing the Seahawks in Levi Stadium. Last weekend, the Patriots defeated the Broncos for the AFC title in a close 10-7 win. In May's sophomore pro season, he already leads the NFL in quarterback rating and surpassed Tom Brady's previous record for single-season completion percentage in a little more than a week. We'll see if May takes home the ring.
Now, coming off a big win at number 14, Virginia, men's basketball will travel to Atlanta to take on a struggling Georgia Tech squad tomorrow. The focus for the Tar Heels will be the turnover battle. UNC forced 11 turnovers in its upset against Virginia. Georgia Tech has lost its past 2 games with 14 and 9 turnovers respectively in losses to Virginia Tech and Clemson. Star forward Kawasi Reeves Jr. will be the main threat to UNC's defense, but for Carolina, bench players Jaron Stevenson and Luka Bogavats will be the key to keeping the pressure on the Yellow Jackets as they combined for 31 points off the bench against Virginia. Now, writing about UNC men's basketball team is how this alum got her start in sports writing. Ella Kungel introduces us to Tim Crothers, a former writer for Sports Illustrated and a professor here at UNC.
One line in the student paper set Tim Crothers on the path to a career in sports writing.
A man named Clifton Barnes, who was a writer for the DTH in the 1980s and wrote a story about the national championship game that UNC won in 1982. And it was a story that he wrote that I read the next morning that made me want to become a sports writer.
That spark led him to the big leagues. 13 years at Sports Illustrated, where his byline even appeared on a story about a golf icon.
Writing the first story that, basically the first national story on Tiger Woods when he was about 14.
After years at Sports Illustrated, covering some of the biggest names in sports, Crothers returned to Chapel Hill and helped launch something UNC had never had before, a sports writing program.
So I thought I'd do it for a year or two and then pass it off to somebody who was more professional. And as it turned out, after a year or two, I thought, you know, I'm still not very good at it, but I'm getting a little bit better every year, and maybe I should stick with it.
Now, 25 years later, Crothers is still teaching, from his start at the Daily Tar Heel to shaping the next generation of writers. His advice comes down to 2 simple words: don't settle.
Don't settle is not just about trying to make your story perfect, it's about don't settle on anything else you do in life.
A message he hopes his students carry long after they leave Carolina. I'm Ella Kungel, reporting.
His time covering games may be over. Crothers says the lessons continue. Molly, Crothers has taught me a lot of lessons. I've taken every single one of his classes, and I'm in his final one right now, sports writing, which this package was about. And I have to say, I leave every class inspired by Tim Crothers.
That's pretty awesome, Bethany. I'd love to take one of his classes. Hopefully I have time in my next 2 semesters at Carolina, but it Sounds like he really helps a lot of students thrive, and at this time in the season, wrestling also needs some of his pizzazz to get them to thrive. And the number 11 Tar Heels wrestling squad is scheduled to face off against number 14 Pitt in a high-stakes ACC matchup on January 30th. UNC is coming off of a road loss against number 8 NC State, but after a week of rest and return to Carmichael Arena, Carolina is looking to pick up a solid conference win against the Panthers. The Tar Heels would need the help of consistent point producers like Matthew Bullock-Tello and Kaisen Terukina to ensure the loss against the Wolfpack doesn't snowball into a weak start in conference play. Wrestling analyst Mary Shelton joins us with a look into what UNC needs to improve upon in anticipation of their match against Pitt.
The Heels traveled to Raleigh to face off against NC State this past Friday, and while there were some bright spots for UNC, the Wolfpack outlasted the number 11 Heels. After the first 6 matches, State was up by only 1 point. The Heels were still in it, but the electric crowd at Reynolds Coliseum was only getting rowdier, and State was able to channel that energy. The Wolfpack pulled away and claimed the last 4 matches from the Tar Heels, leaving the final score at 24-10. Luckily for the Heels, their next matchup against Pitt will be on their home mat at Carmichael, but that doesn't mean that they can let up. For Carolina to come out on top of the number 14 Panthers, they're going to have to stay high energy for all 10 of these matches. The Heels haven't found themselves in many close duels this season. In fact, they've even shut out 4 out of the 10 teams that they've met on the mat. But as they anticipate facing more ranked conference opponents, the winners could be determined by only a handful of points. UNC has to execute in these high-pressure moments and keep their energy and motivation up as their opponents become more difficult. Carolina's match against Pitt today will be a good indicator of their ability to perform late in the season against a quality squad. Molly?
Thanks, Mary. Well, men's wrestling isn't the only ones hitting the mats this season. The Gym Heels are doing that as well.
That's right, Molly. UNC Gymnastics is in Clemson for a high-stakes rematch at 7 tonight. Last season, UNC Gymnastics rewrote the record books with history on their side. The Tar Heels are looking to prove that last year's win was no fluke. In 2025, Carolina earned its first ever win against Clemson, topping the Tigers 196.575 to 195.80 and hitting the 196 mark for the first time all season. The Tar Heels went out with a bang with a season high of 49.425 on the floor that powered their victory. When Fink anchored the beam with a career-matching 9-9, while Julia Noer claimed the all-around crown and tied for first on bars. The Gym Heels returned with a question to answer. Can they do it again? Let's send it over to our gymnastics analyst, Emily Breitz, for Breitz Breakdown to see how our women's gymnastics might fare tonight.
Number 12 UNC Women's Gymnastics is building some momentum after last weekend's win against Pitt. Tonight they face number 16 Clemson, and the Tar Heels will look to JoJo Valahovic and Sydney Seabrooks to keep delivering big scores. Valahovic has been a vaulting machine, hitting 9-9 at her past 2 meets. Her Yurchenko layout carries a 10-0 start value, and her only deductions seem to come from slight leg separation or a wobble of the feet on the landing. If she sticks the landing and keeps her form tight, she'll be a huge point contributor against the Tigers. Seabrooks is also misreliable. She's been scoring 9.95s on her first 2 floor routines, and her double pike passes are textbook. Watch as she soars across the floor. Her feet are pointed in the air, her legs are tight to her chest, and she sticks that landing. When she's on, it almost looks like she's floating across the floor. Maintaining that precision and energy tonight will be key for UNC. The Tar Heels will take on Clemson at Littlejohn Coliseum at 7. Bethany?
Thanks, Emily. Now that's a Carolina stick. Now, if I were an athlete, I really don't think that gymnastics would be my realm. I think I'm a little bit too clumsy for that, but what are you thinking?
That's fair, Bethany. I know you play volleyball, but honestly, I'm just grateful that I'm not outside. I mean, it's going to be a low of 25 degrees tonight, but that's also not stopping our outdoor sports. Pretty impressive. Men's tennis is one of those sports, and they are taking on 12th-ranked Columbia this Sunday. Last weekend, the Heels took on Vanderbilt and Virginia Tech in the ITA Kickoff Weekend Tournament, narrowly losing to Vandy 4-3 and sweeping VT 4-0. Led by Chris Sue, Rowan Jones, and Ian Mayu, the Tar Heels are looking to start February off with an impressive win and extend their record 3-1. And after a stellar performance on Saturday against in-state opponent UNC Charlotte, tonight the women's tennis team will take on an even bigger rival in NC State. The number 3 ranked Tar Heels come into this matchup with no losses on their record. With this dominant performance against UNC Charlotte, they punched their ticket to the ITA National Team Indoor Championship, led by number 1 ranked Reese Brantmeyer, who won every single game she played, earning her the title of the ACC's Player of the Week. Brantmeyer and her doubles partner, Alanis Hamilton, are the ACC's Doubles Team of the Week, leading to a UNC sweep. All 3 doubles teams were in peak form this weekend, and the Heels will continue to rely on the strong doubles play of Obi Kajuru and Susanna Maltby to keep their perfect record going. The match starts tonight at 6 p.m. in Cary. And with a big weekend ahead, I hear there are 2 Tar Heels who are ready to make an impact. So let's head over to Aces with Eliza for the full report. Eliza?
Molly, UNC secured their spot to the ITA Indoor Tournament last weekend, but there are still a couple of tests the Heels will need to pass to get a better idea of just how tough the journey will be to bring home another title win. Tonight, Carolina will play 9th-ranked NC State, and the biggest battle for the Heels will be in doubles. Now, let's take a look back at the ACC Doubles Team of the Week, Reese Brantmeyer and Alanis Hamilton. This is mid-rally here, and Reese is going to go for the forehand shot right down the middle. Now, if you're Alanis in this situation, you're the net player, ideally what you want to do is go for a touch to cut off Stanford's momentum. But that ball's going to go just a little deep, so she's going to give it to Reese. She goes for the backhand slice. Now, this volley right here from Alanis is exactly what Stanford just wasn't expecting. She's going to force her opponent to have to really reach for that ball. It's a great way to put on the pressure. Stanford no longer has complete control of directly where it's going to land on the court. Let's look at that. And it lands just a little bit out. That point goes to Carolina. Now let's talk about the second test of the weekend, which will be against number 1 UGA. What we're about to see is Thea Radman defeat Georgia's Dasha Vidmanova, former number 1 in the country. And this is just really a testament to Thea's athleticism and technique. First, you have the height disadvantage, with her opponent is a whole foot taller than she is, which can have a big impact on serving ability, but also her ability to hone in, losing that first set but coming back in the second to ultimately force a third and take the match. UGA's big hitter has graduated, and without Vidmanova, I just don't know if Georgia will be able to handle UNC. Carolina is finding its rhythm collectively competing at the highest levels of tennis right now. Molly?
Thanks, Eliza. Be careful in the snow and take caution if you head to Tuning Tennis Center on Sunday for Carolina's biggest test this season.
UNC women's golf won't have to worry about the snow as they're traveling to Puerto Rico to play in the Puerto Rico Classic. The Classic will feature teams such as Purdue, Arkansas, and Northwestern competing against UNC for 3 days at the Grand Reserve Golf Club starting on Sunday. Now track heads over to Liberty, and ACC rivals like Duke and NC State will be at this event. All eyes are on Colton Sands after he ran a 13:17 5K in his season debut, lowering his PR by 9 seconds.
Now, the snow may start falling, but so are the honors. UNC men's lacrosse has 4 players on the Inside Lacrosse preseason's All-America honors. Juniors Owen Duffy and Brady Wambach received first-team All-America honors. Dominic Petramala and Ty English took home honorable mention recognitions, and the duo of Duffy and Petramala were the Heels' top goal scorers last season, racking up 112 combined points. With the team featuring star returners and plenty of fresh faces, men's lacrosse is looking to gain even more hardware this season. Now, unfortunately, while the preseason number 5 UNC men's lacrosse team will open next week, they were actually supposed to open it up already, but that got canceled with Towson.
Their matchup versus Towson was canceled, as Molly said, but now it's my favorite moment of the show. It's time for our Play of the Week. Our Play of the Week is Derek Dixon and Caleb Wilson, where Derek Dixon launches a soaring pass to Caleb Wilson, perfectly positioned under the basket for an easy two-handed dunk. Dixon had 7 assists, including this cross-court throw against the Hoos, tying the most by a Tar Heel this season. Be sure to tune in on Monday and vote on our Instagram to make your voice heard for the next Play of the Week. Now, as we head into the spring, many of our fall sport athletes are starting to get back into the swing of things, but our professors are as well. Our Avery Bales has talked to Dr. Sean Anderson about what he's doing with the Hussman School. Avery Bales is a really great reporter, and she has talked to, there's a little bit of a technical difficulty going on with the back, but we're going to get this package up for you as soon as we can. Sean Anderson's there's a great professor here at UNC. We have a lot going on in the Hussman School, so let's see what Avery Bales has to say.
Anderson serves as the night chair in sports, race, and media for Hussman. He works in global impact through sports and is an author of the book, The Black Athlete Revolt.
But we talked more about the activism and how people were saying that sport and politics shouldn't mix, just shut up and dribble.
Anderson teaches a course about ethical issues in sports communication.
Government organizations, sport apparel companies, how they're all getting involved in this sort of social responsibility platform. And I wanted students to be able to see, okay, yeah, they're doing this. How can we now get involved? How can we set up strategies and platforms for organizations from a communication perspective?
A main component in his class is working with CFK Africa, Carolina for Kibera, immersing students in the ways to use sport for development.
So the UNC student perspective on our work is really helpful because youth bring just so much energy and a different way of looking at things.
UNC students carved out plans for CFK Africa and presented them to the staff at the end of the course.
Wanting to build out a communication campaign sometime next semester to where they want students from here to help train students there on how to report on social responsibility initiatives through sport.
Anderson looks forward to continuing the work with CFK Africa and even plans to head out to Kibera soon to immerse himself in the organization. I'm Avery Bales reporting.
Incredible mission that Dr. Anderson has, but there's some pretty cool opportunities along with CFK Africa at the Hussman School. One of those opportunities I have the pleasure to be a part of. We're going to take 25 students to Milan to report at the Olympics. Now, these are just a few of my classmates that are going with me. We leave this week, and the Olympics will start on February 6th.
Now, for helping us do what we do and making big trips like this possible, thanks to the Curtis family, the Goodman family, the Scott family, the Holbrooks family, Jennifer and Stephen Rich, Fabiana and Sam Ramirez.
Now that does it for this edition of Sports Extra, but before we go, let's take a look at our control room where our producer and director, Kyla McGee and Carrington Bostic, are also working right now, but they're also going to be joining us in Milan for the Olympics. We are so excited for this opportunity.
Now, unless the university is closed, we will be back on Monday with all the highlights from another exciting weekend of Carolina athletics.